Hi, I'm Sierra. I am one part of That Family on the Go, and I'm here to talk to you about the top 4 things that you need to move abroad with your family. Naturally, there are more than 4 things that you need, but these are my 4 tops. This is where you should start before you dive into any of the other logistics and preferences and things like that as you're preparing to move your family abroad. And this is whether you're going for just a short extended stay, a temporary move abroad, or if you are thinking of doing a more permanent move. If you're watching this video, I imagine you have already decided, like you're ready to go. You just need to know how to get the wheels rolling, get things in motion, or you're trying to get all the information so you can convince your partner. Don't worry, I've been there. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about myself and then we're gonna dive right into it. So again, my name is Sierra. I have been just in love with international travel and travel abroad since I was about 24. At 24, I took my first international trip. I had never been to Canada or Mexico or Jamaica or any of the any of the popular hotspots that U.S. citizens go to. But I went to South Africa to celebrate something big for a friend. There was a trip that was curated for us, and it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal, and I left that trip thinking, how can I do this more on somebody else's dime? Mainly because I was 24, and unless you went the corporate route and you started making salaried money right away, you know that 24 was not that different from 21. It was like a little step up. You know, my bank account was a little more consistent, but I was not pay for life abroad, consistent. So I loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. And one of the reasons why I still live abroad with my family to this day is because of the feelings of safety, the access, the cost of living, and the experiences. You cannot put a price on the things that you experience when you are immersed in a new culture. You're discovering things about yourself. You're learning so much. It is just my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing, aside from eating. That's number 1 on my list. We have 2 little ones. Well, one and almost another. I'm 38 weeks pregnant now and a little fatigued, very achy, also very excited, slightly out of breath. So bear with me if you sense my heavy breathing. Yeah, that's how a little bit about our little family and our background. I've now lived in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've now lived in 5 countries since I was 24. So yeah, let's get started. Number 1, your preferences. And I say this because when I was in my 20s and I didn't have any children and I was traveling by myself, my preferences didn't matter, okay? Who was hiring me, who was paying a salary that felt, like livable and more competitive, that's where I was going. Everything else I would adjust to. Now that I'm in my 30s and I'm a mother and I have elevated taste, my preferences are way more important. So I'll give you a perfect example. I never realized how much I need to have access to Asian food until I lived in Belize. And I love Belize. Belize is top 2, top 3 out of all the destinations that I've lived in and visited. And I've been to quite a few. I had a goal to get to 30 countries by the time I was 30, and I made it to my 30th country around 27 or 28. So I've been a lot of places, and I loved Belize. It felt so good. But I could not get sushi. I couldn't get fried rice. Okay, I couldn't. It wasn't available in the area that I lived in. So my fiance and I were like, okay, now we know wherever we go next, we need to be in a place where you have access to Asian food. And I was like, oh man, you know me so well, because I'm sitting here talking about how much I miss Asian food, and you thinking bigger than me. You like, no, we just need to live in a place where you can get Asian food. I'm like, man. And this is what I love about our relationship, because sometimes I have a tendency to just kind of accept things the way they are. And he challenges me to be like, okay, what do you want? Okay, then let's go get it. Let's make it happen. So shout out to him. But you want to make a list of all the things you love about your life right now, okay? And then you want to narrow that list down to your non-negotiables. So I didn't have this on my list as a non-negotiable because I didn't realize it. But after experience, I realized, you know what? I need access to a diversity of cuisines because I don't always feel like cooking. And I want to be able to just call up my spot, whether it's my Asian spot, you know, with a Thai, Japanese, Chinese, like, I love Asian food. So I need access to all the things. But you want to at least start that list, right? Some things you won't realize until you get there. And we're going to talk about that in in number 2. Some things you won't realize until you get there. But have a list of what your non-negotiables are. And in your research, you want to see how many of those things you can check off your list. And that's going to help you narrow down your destination. Okay. If you already know where you want to go, great. But if not, make sure you have your preferences there. If you have any sort of special needs, special medications, any sort of things that you need access to, if you need to live in a place where, shipping things back and forth from home or from certain websites and stuff is really easy, those are things you're going to want to price, research, look into, talk to a few people, because in some places it's super easy and in some places it is not. Okay. I've lived in a place that didn't have Amazon. I decided that I didn't like that. So that is now on my list of non-negotiables. That's number 1. Number 2, let's get into the reality of things, right? You need to be prepared for change. And what I mean by that is it's not that you can't be rattled or upset or frustrated by an experience that you have. But you need to walk into this knowing your privilege as a U.S. citizen more than likely will not get you anywhere here. Business practices and ideas are different in every culture, okay? And some things that are difficult in the U.S. are going to be incredibly easy where you go. And other things that are super easy in the U.S. are going to be incredibly difficult. Okay, I'll give you a few examples. Food delivery. I've lived in places where before DoorDash and Grubhub and, all the places, what was the one that started with a Z? There was one that's like, I don't even think it was an app. It was like a website, like back in 2016 or 17, before we really, really got into like food delivery in the US. I was living in China and I was paying 50 cents to get my food delivered. And they were all delivering them on little motorbikes. It was super efficient. It was super affordable and I loved it. I go back to the US and I'm like paying $12 to get food delivered from a place that's, right up the hill. And I'm just like, why is it so expensive? Then sometimes you go on the food apps and the price of the food is more than it would be if you were paying in the store. And I'm like, but that's what my services and my fees are, you know what I mean? Like, super easy here, super difficult here, okay? One country I lived in, I was able to get my visa stuff. It was a breeze, okay? Sent it over, got my visa stuff. They sent it back to me. It was great. Another place I lived in, the embassy sent my stuff back to me 3 times. 3 times with errors, 3 times. And they were like, okay, you need to get this together, okay? And just full transparency, there's going to be some places that you go where you don't really have to do a lot of pre-visa work, because as a U.S. citizen, you can stay there for 90 days without having to, actually be a resident. But when you do say, hey, I love this place, I do want to become a resident, I do want to get my residency in this particular location, you need to know business practices are different in different places, okay? The process of getting my driver's license in one particular country was fully reliant on the mood of the people I was talking to. And so my kindness and my type A personality that I had to put in my back pocket, that is what got me my driver's license, okay? You have to be be prepared to adjust and just soft for change, okay? Soft for change. I know it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. Every place has different practices, different cultures, different views. And so whereas like the DMV where you're from, it might be as simple as fill out this form, pass this test, do this. Over here, there might be different practices. Over here, there's different fees. So you need to be prepared for those little frustrations that can easily become big frustrations if you're continuously comparing the experience in this new place to the experiences that you had back home. Like, if you're Molly from Insecure and you're like, oh, at my old firm, we just did things differently. Like, it's not going to work out for you. Okay. So be prepared for change. Be prepared for things to not go the way that you planned. Be prepared for like something to be ridiculous. Like for there to be like crazy wait time, for something that should be super simple, or for your favorite restaurant to say they're open, but then be closed. Like everywhere is different. Cultures are just different. Okay. So I really want to reiterate the level of success you'll have if your attitude is calm and prepared. You know what? That actually went better than I thought it would. Or that was kind of hard, but now I know. You know what I mean? So be prepared for that. Number 3, you need to join. The sirens are loud. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but number 3, you need to join groups, whether they're Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups. There's an app called the Expat app. It is a lovely, lovely, lovely place for Black people to connect. You need to find a source, because there's gonna be a time, several times a week, that you have a question. Ooh, excuse me, guys. Because there's gonna be a time that you have a question and you try to figure it out and you try to Google it, but you need to ask the people. Okay. So some suggestions, there's a group called the Brothers and Sisters, and I actually used to be an admin for the Brothers and Sisters of Kuwait. Loved it. We did Friendsgiving gatherings. We came together for karaoke nights. We had just a lot of social gatherings, a lot of parties. If I remember once someone had a death in the family, they had to fly home unexpectedly. We collected money to give to her to make it back home for, her father's funeral. It's just, there's a level of community that you're going to need, especially with the family, and you're going to want to make those connections. Okay. Making friends as adults can already be difficult. Now you're in this new place. You have to make friends for yourself. You have to make friends for your kids. You have to discover your own hobbies, and you're building a whole new life in this new place. So you need those connections. So I highly recommend going on Facebook and searching for Brothers and Sisters of the place you want to go. So for example, I was in the Brothers and Sisters of Kuwait. I am also in like the Brothers and Sisters of Thailand, the Brothers and Sisters of respective cities in Mexico, like Puerto Vallarta or Mexico City or Merida. And the reason that I'm in those groups is because I haven't lived in all those places, but even when I'm going to visit those places, I join those groups ahead of time and I say, hey, I'm going to be there this date to this date, would love to connect, would love to know what events are going on, would love to get advice. And these groups are specifically for Black people, right? And so you have groups that are more broad, like Americans in France. I'm in that group because for a strong period of time, I was moving to France, or Americans here, Americans there. And so you want to look for groups that are going to fit your demographic. You want to look for groups that are going to help you solve the issues that you have. Real life example, I moved to Mexico, and I know you don't drink the water in Mexico, but there's some places in Mexico where it's like, yeah, you can brush your teeth. Like, don't swallow the water, but you can brush your teeth. Sure, you can boil pasta. And so I was like, okay, everything I'm reading online is conflicting. Like, one person is saying the place I live in has the best water system in Mexico. The other person is saying don't do it at all. So I get in my group with my people who I know have the same culture, practices, and things as I do. And I say, hey, what's the real deal about the water, right? Like, what do y'all use? Are y'all cooking with bottled water? How you brushing your teeth? I need to know, okay? And I got the answers I was looking for. So things like that, it won't always be as simple as like watching a YouTube video, finding an article. Sometimes you need a real life person. Alternatively, I use these groups. Like I'm in a mom group I'm actually in several mom groups now, but I joined a mom group on Facebook, and then I asked on Facebook, hey, are there any other meetups or things? And I was directed to mom groups on WhatsApp. So now I'm in a mom group that meets every Friday. I'm in a mom group that does crafts. I'm in a mom group that just is kind of like general information for parents and events and things like that. And so now I have all these opportunities to get out, socialize, mingle, make friends for myself, make connections for my child, and create these experiences. Before you know it, I got friends. We got friends. Everybody got friends. Okay. So you definitely want to make the connection. And the final and most practical thing that I'm going to leave you with today is you need to have efficient packing skills. And I say this with the straightest face, with the fullest heart that I can say this with. You need to pack efficiently. Moving abroad, you're likely flying. Some people might be driving if you're, going somewhere that is landlocked with the US, but you're more than likely flying. There are certain things that you can bring, certain things you can't bring, certain things have to be packed efficiently. And we have learned, you don't need it. You don't need all that stuff. You don't. Take some time to familiarize yourself with the stores that are going to be in the area that you're going to, and the types of things that you can get when you get there. I know we all think that America is like the end all be all for all the products and services, but you'd be surprised. Perfect example. There's certain baby products and brands that I love, like Easy Peasy, just like cloth diapering, things like that. Where I live in the US, I have never been able to walk into a store and see an entire section of Easy Peasy brand stuff or an entire section of cloth diapers. Never. I've always had to order my diapers online. I have always had to order my Easy Peasy stuff from Amazon, okay? I come to Mexico, I go into this department store, the baby section is immaculate. All the things that I would have to normally order online and get shipped are right here in the store. And I love that. I love that for me, okay? I love that for us. I love that for my community here. But knowing that information before I come is gonna save the headache of overweight luggage, of trying to cram things in, of trying to make a list of like getting all the things. So I would genuinely get serious about your packing list, what things you absolutely need. Like I've had friends travel with their robot vacuum. Excuse me. For them, that was something they were not interested in buying new when they got to where they were going. This is the one I got, this is the one I'm taking, okay? And if it works for you and you know how to do it efficiently, make it work it out. But the reality is when you get to where you're going, you can get another vacuum, okay? You can sell this stuff in your home country, make money to save for whatever moving expenses you're gonna encounter, because you will encounter expenses, whether that is paying for overweight luggage or not. And then you get there and you're able to shop around and get the stuff that you need. The other thing to keep in mind is that so many places abroad have apartments that are furnished, okay? So a lot of people don't know that. And when I say furnished, I mean down to the silverware. Like you walk into a place, there's a mop, there's a broom, there's a washer and dryer. There may or may not be a dishwasher. There may or may not be a dryer, to be honest, depending on where you're going. But there's a couch, there's cushions, there's decorations. They're like, literally, it's move-in ready. When we say move-in ready in the US, we just mean we ain't gotta do no work. You still gotta fill it. There's so many places abroad where you can find a furnished apartment for a reasonable price. You don't have to bring all of your stuff with you. And I listen to me when I say this. Listen to me. Don't bring it on the first go round, okay? My recommendation would be pack your first round of things, pack your second, third round of things for when someone comes to visit you, they can bring, or when you make a trip back home, you can bring, okay? Pack the essentials, pack the things that you have already researched and know you will not be able to find in this respective place. Like, for my women out there, or anybody who's menstruating, if you have a favorite menstrual product and it's not available in this place, Okay, stock up so you can have a little time to find another one. Essentials like certain medications. You will, if you have a prescription and things like that, you probably will have to go back, schedule a doctor's visit, get a new prescription in this local place. But you'll be able to find whatever type of medication you need where you go. Generally, there are some special circumstances, but generally you will be able to find what you need. But you have got to eliminate some of those things off your packing list. Okay. I know it's the American way. We have things, we love our things. You got to minimize it. It's going to make your life more stress-free. It's going to make this transition smoother, and it is what you deserve. Okay. Hear me when I say this. The rest of the stuff will work out. You will figure it out. I promise. So thank you for tuning into this video. Those are the top 4 things that I would recommend you make sure you start with, make sure you have, and then you can start looking into the other logistics of what your life might look like. Like, what school are you going to send your kid to? What sort of hobbies and activities, clubs, if your sorority or fraternity has a local chapter, those other things are all going to come, but I would prioritize these 4 things before you get into that. Hope that helps.